On a night like tonight, once again, the comparisons between Arkansas and North Dakota so inevitably come to the surface. Just as they did in 1993, when Senators Bumper and Senators Pryor, following that '92 election, were joined by their longtime friend, Bill Clinton in Washington. Senators Conrad and Senators Dorgan joined by their long-term friend in Washington, me. And there are many parallels between the distinguished public careers of the President and Senator Dorgan. The notable exception of Bill Clinton is the President and Senator Dorgan is not. Each leader has shown how to forge winning coalitions out of the sensible center, breaking new ground and really often challenging established partisan thinking in terms of how we can actually win and advance the issues that are so very important to people. The only one race that Senator Dorgan ever lost was managed by the individual I'm about to introduce. His colleague in the Senate, our dear friend, Kent Conrad.
Well, there is the rest of the story. Earl was the driver for that campaign. I hired him in a restaurant about midnight, and one thing I did not check was his knowledge of the streets and roads of North Dakota. He so frequently got our campaign lost that there was no way to overcome the edge that the incumbent had. Now, Mr. President, I have been a friend of Byron Dorgan's for about as long as I can remember. I was with him in 1968 when we had a campaign to lower the voting age in North Dakota to, well, whatever we needed. And in 1974, I did run his campaign for the Congress. And after we were not successful in that race, you'll recall that our opponent at that time was the man that I later ran against for the United States Senate. And Byron kind of softened him up. And then we were able to knock him off when I ran for the United States Senate. It was a brilliant two-part strategy. But some things that you perhaps don't know about Byron Dorgan. Let me just tell you quickly two things. Number one, he was selected as one of the 10 best state officials in the entire country. And at that time, Bill Clinton was a state official. This has been missed. Number two, our major state newspaper did a survey when Byron was the tax commissioner of North Dakota. And they were trying to figure out who is the most powerful person in the state of North Dakota. Their conclusion, Byron Dorgan. More powerful than the governor, more powerful than the Speaker of the House of Representatives, more powerful than the majority leader of the state Senate. Now that is truly remarkable. I bet President Clinton in Arkansas, you didn't have a revenue commissioner who was the most powerful person in the state when you were governor. And I tell you, Byron had that reputation because he deserved it. He was absolutely the best, and he continues today to be the very best. I am so proud to give you my colleague and my dear friend, Senator Byron Dorgan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. These two obviously have a lot of fun at my expense. One day I showed up huffing and puffing a couple of minutes late to speak to a base closing commission, and both of them had just finished. And they both leaned over in the quiet of that commission room and said things to me that were just awful. And I leaned back and said, by the way, which of you is Beavis? So, it's a true story. But in any event, we are awfully good friends. And the rest of the story is that in 1974, out of 10 statewide races, the only race I ever lost, Kent Conrad was my campaign manager. We hired Earl Pomeroy to be my campaign driver. What they didn't tell you is that at the moment that we put them on the campaign trail for me, At that moment when they were hired, I was leading in the polls. That's the rest of the story. John F. Kennedy used to say that every mother kind of hopes her child might be able to grow up to be president as long as they don't have to be active in politics. But of course, politics for many of us in public service is something very honorable, very decent, and very important for this country. It's the process by which we make decisions about our country. And I think our country has reason to be enormously proud about the decisions we've made. When I came to Washington, D.C., the first week I was here, I walked into the office of the oldest member of the House of Representatives, Congressman Claude Pepper, who had been here since 1936. It had a spell when he was gone, but then back. And above his chair was a scene I'll never forget. It was an autographed picture, framed, of Orville and Wilbur Wright making the first airplane flight. And it was autographed to Congressman Claude Pepper, with deep admiration, Orville Wright. And beneath it, a picture of Neil Armstrong standing on the moon, autographed to Congressman Claude Pepper. And it occurred to me what that represented. Man from the ground to the air to the moon, standing on each other's shoulders, inventing, looking across the horizon. It was our massive investment in education in America that decided we want everyone to be all they can be and unleash the opportunities of technology and knowledge. And we've done it in 100 ways in 100 different fields. And it is because we have made the right choices. Oh, from time to time we've made a mistake, and public officials always pay for those mistakes, and I understand that, and all of us in public service do. But again tonight, I'm enormously proud of the country we live in and the things that we've accomplished together, and we've yet much to accomplish in the future. I come from a town of now 280 people, graduated in a high school class of 9. I was in the top 5. And no one would ever have expected that I would someday be able to put my hand on a Bible and be sworn in as a United States Senator, or to stand on a stage with the President of the United States. And I am enormously proud today that President Clinton has come to this event. President Clinton has demonstrated a fight and a spirit to stay the course, to fight for what's right in this country, to fight for the right investments, for the environment, for health care, for the kinds of things, for education especially, the things that make a difference in our country. And I'm proud that he's here tonight. Let me introduce to you the former Attorney General of the state of Arkansas, former governor of the state of Arkansas, and now, of course, the President of the United States, Bill Clinton. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm delighted to be on the stage with 40% of all the Democrats in North Dakota. You know, in 1974, it took 3 of them to lose a race for Congress. I did it at home all by myself. And I now know why they lost. The only person who should have been talking up here was Kim. And she hadn't said a word. I made her go out first tonight so I knew we'd get an applause instead of a boo. I am delighted to be here. I am honored to be here with Senator Dorgan and Senator Connor and Congressman Pomeroy. The 3 of them represent what I hope and believe philosophically and in terms of their commitment to public service and the way they do their work. It is not just the future of our party, but the future of our country, because they have repeatedly been willing to stand up and make tough decisions, some of which are popular with the electorate back home in North Dakota and may not be so popular with people here in Washington, some of which are not popular anywhere, but they just think they're right. And I have a special feeling for Byron Dorgan. I followed his career long before he became a senator, and I admired mightily what he did in North Dakota. Kent said he was voted the most powerful politician in North Dakota, and he said that he was sure that the person handling the revenues in Arkansas wasn't the most powerful person in the state. Actually, he was. I just had sense enough to make sure the folks didn't know that. I don't know how he got out of that box. I really admire him. He deserves to be reelected. I'm glad you're here to help him. And I'd just like to remind you of a couple of things that often get lost in the hurly-burly of daily events around here. Thanks in no small measure to the leadership that he has exerted and the support that he has given, we reversed more than a decade
of trickle-down supply-side economics and replaced it with invest and grow economics. And by the narrowest of margin, thanks to his strong support and his vote, we reduced the deficit 63%, and this economy has produced 11.5 million jobs for the first time ever in 4 years, and the lowest combined rates of unemployment and inflation since the 1960s. That's enough to get him reelected. He deserves it. In 1992, people talked about problems like crime and welfare as if they would always be with us in the same way that they were. But we have reversed trends of decline, working with people all over this country, putting 100,000 police on the street, working with states to move people from welfare to work. 2.25 million people. Now it'll be 2.5 when we get the last total in 4 years. The largest number of people ever to move off the welfare rolls. And we have more to do, but that's something to be proud of. The crime rate going down every year, that's something to be proud of. We have reasserted the importance of the family in our social policy with the family and medical leave law, with special tax breaks for families with modest incomes, by raising the minimum wage, by passing the V-chip legislation and taking on some of these other very tough issues. I think it's very important. That's the kind of pro-family policy that Senator Dorgan has fought for. We have fought for free and for fair trade for America. We're the #1 exporter in the world again. We had record exports for the last 4 years. We reasserted the leadership role of our country in reducing the nuclear threat and taking advantage of the opportunities that are out there. Now, we've got a lot left to do. We still have to balance the budget. People tell me all the time, well, can we keep this recovery going? The answer is we can if we do the right things, but only if we do the right things. The American people are more than doing their part. They're willing to keep working. They're willing to keep starting small businesses, keep expanding businesses. They're dying to improve their education and skills and to become more productive. We have to create the conditions and give people the tools to make the most of their own lives. If we do it, we'll keep going forward. That's what is at stake when Byron Dorgan presents himself to the people of North Dakota again. And no one should forget that on the major policy questions of the last 4 years, no matter how controversial, no matter how tight, no matter how tough, he stood up and cast the right votes, and this is a better, stronger country, and his state is better and stronger because of it, and he deserves to be rewarded for the leadership he's exercised, and most important, for the potential he has in the future, for balancing the budget, for putting education first among our priorities, for doing the right thing to finish the work of welfare reform, for dealing with the problems that rural states have that are so easy to overlook here in Washington unless you have the kind of strong, clear voice that he has exhibited. So you're doing a good thing being here for him tonight, and I'm glad to be here with him. I am honored to be his friend, honored to work with him every day, and I trust that I will have the chance to do that until I am term limited out, and he goes on to his just reward. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Now, let me also introduce to you my wife, Kim, and let me not only thank, let me not only thank the President this evening for coming, but let me also thank you for being here. I appreciate very much your support and your help. And again, Mr. President, thank you so much for taking the time this evening. Thank all of you.